I'm Barry Halverson with the Lake Lawrence Lake Management District Steering Committee, and we're here today with Wayne Fournier, who is running for the open seat for the District 4 Thurston County Commissioner. Welcome, Wayne.
Thanks, Barry.
I'd like tell us a little bit about yourself.
I've lived my whole life here in Thurston County. I was born and raised in Tenino, Washington. My family has been around there and involved in local leadership for quite some time. My grandfather was the police chief. Yeah, after working for the sheriff's department, he became the Tenino police chief, and I want to say 1973. And that's how my mother's side got there. And then my parents met, and I was created 1980. And my father was one of the fire chiefs locally throughout my childhood. So I grew up being involved in the community, going to community meetings, volunteering. And it was just something that was, sorry, there's bees. It was just something that was an ethic that was, ingrained in me from a young age. So after high school, I joined the volunteer fire department there and got very involved in that, and decided that the fire service would be a career for me. And so throughout my 20s, I just kind of honed up on my fire service skills and went to college at the same time. While in college, I worked in student government, student leadership. So all just kind of like building a base for the kind of the knowledge that I wanted to have later as I grew and evolved as a person. I graduated from WSU in 2005 with degrees in philosophy and psychology, and started my actual fire service career as a professional firefighter. Shortly after that, worked for a brief time before that as a parole officer. I worked in juvenile counseling and juvenile prisons. So I did a kind of a brief stint in law enforcement, and did some time in prison as a counselor.
Right.
But you do learn a lot. You learn a lot no matter what side of the bars you're on when you're working in incarceration. After that, I had a house briefly in Olympia, and then was able to move back to Tenino, and really wanted to get involved once I moved back, and I started a family. And at 32, I ran for office. It was 2012. I ran for my first position in office as a Tenino City Council member. I did a term as that. Really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed learning about how to be a legislator, how to create laws, how to interact with the community, and kind of build up coalitions and move ideas forward. Like my first big thing was I was very very new to everything, but I called it my urban farming initiative, and I was just making up words at that point, and kind of reformatted a lot of Tenino's laws to allow for basically urban farming, having chickens in your backyard, and if you had enough property, you could come up with an urban farming plan that would allow for say a turkey or things like that, because it just fit the community, and it was a lot of fun to work on those kind of things. And then over time, seeing the differences that you make, and over a 10-year period, you almost like raise a generation of kids. Yeah. And it's a whole era that you kind of shepherd the community through, and it's been an adventure. In that time, we've had a lot of success. I've brought in grant money like nobody's ever done before in the community. Kind of unlocked a lot of the secrets. There's a lot of other communities where they've got staff, and they've got 30, 40 people working at City Hall, so they've got this machine rolling. Tenino never really had that. And then maybe you get somebody that's real squared away at something in the 70s. That doesn't mean that knowledge carries through. There's a lot of turnover, and I was able to, through dogged determination, unlock a lot of abilities. My first big appropriation that I was able to garner for the community was, I think it was a $650,000 capital budget appropriation, and I chased a senator down into an elevator, and on the Senate campus, and not knowing, I just went in there knowing that I needed $650,000 for this project to extend a water line out to West Tenino for future development. And I didn't know how to do it, but I knew who my senator was. Mm-hmm. And I'm walking around the state capitol, and I saw John Braun sneak from one door into an elevator, and I get my foot in the door, sneak in there with him. Senator Braun, you're the guy I'm looking for. Hey, I got this project. I'm needing money for this. And he's like, oh, so you want a capital budget form to fill out? And I'm like, Yes. And then he takes me right up to his office, and by the time I got there, I had him convinced of the project. He signed it, and then it was, in a few short weeks, it was money in the bank, and I was like, how did I do that?
Right.
And then I'm having to backpedal and figure out what it was that I just did successfully, and there was success after success, and learning how to build teams, build coalitions, and kind of reach outside of my community to find like collaborators and partners, so that I could kind of multiply the limited forces that we have by using nonprofits, by using other associations that are interested in the things that we're interested in. And we've been able to rebuild our park. That was like $1 million park project. We've been able to renovate our quarry pool. We've remodeled our quarry house, our city hall. I was really proud of that one. It was, a lot of places would just, scrap an old building, but it's really important to me to preserve history and ensure that you're taking care of the assets that you have to the best of your ability. The big kind of banner project or signature project that we're working on now is called the Southwest Washington Agriculture and Innovation Park. So, trying to figure out what economic development was, as a firefighter. I'm just a fireman, and now I have to be an economic development practitioner. You kind of start from square one, and what has Tenino's historic economy's been? It's, you're talking about coal mining, logging, farming, stone cutting. Those things are, those aren't modern industries, and nobody's mining coal anymore, but we're always going to need food.
Right.
So, how do I support the ag industry? So I start meeting with ranchers, I start meeting with farmers, and you start hearing stories about supply chain failures. And if you're a cattle rancher and you've got 30 cows on your ranch, you can legally sell the meat in a farmer's market. You can sell it on Craigslist. But you can't put it in a supermarket because it's not USDA certified. Okay, well, how do I get a cow butchered to USDA specs? Well, you got to go to Eastern Oregon. Well, there's an issue.
Yeah.
So, figuring out those things. And so we've got, right now we have a 20-acre ag park essentially that's being built out. We broke ground, and we've got built our first 10,000 square foot building that's going to house, it's like an economic development center for agriculture, Center for Business Innovation. This is all partnered with the Economic Development Commission. It'll have an event center where we can bring in the WSU. Last year we had the WSU extensions from all over the state come in, and they meet in Tenino, and they talk about how to raise better grass for the cows, and they do all these studies. And now we'll have a facility to house them. The FFA students from across the state and things like that. So where we can bring the brains in. And we'll make like a port facility, and we'll do research, development. We can create new crops. We can figure out new products, value-added products to be created from locally grown cabbage and things like that. And so we're creating that right now, and we've done that through at this point zero city dollars. It's all been grant funded or privately funded, and we're looking at we're probably $12 million into the project.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
For a city of 1,700 people.
So, you've done all this as the mayor. Why are you running for county commissioner?
There's seasons to everything, and as I have, I took office as mayor, and I had a list of things that I wanted to accomplish, and that I told everybody I would accomplish, and one of the things that has bugged me for years is the lack of voice that South Thurston County, especially Southwest Thurston County, has had in regional decision making and regional projects. And so I've been very vocal about that. Like, hey, we need a seat at the table. We need a seat at the table.
Right.
And you would get over time they were like, yeah, you do. And
Right.
so they would try to make accommodations. Hey, we want to involve your city in this. We want to involve that city in this. Or these, there's these regional committees, and they'll give, each community will get a seat at the table, but South County gets one joint voice. There's a lot of those. So You know, there's the council on such and such. You see Olympia, you see Lacey, you see Tumwater, you see Thurston County, and then Tenino, Rainier, Bucota, Yelm
All one.
have to pick one.
Yeah.
You know, so there's not equity in that. And I've brought that up for years. And I want to say about 4 or 5 years ago, there was an effort, I believe, to recharter the county. I think I'm using the right words. And, you know, I kind of advocated for some aspects of that because there does need to be 5 commissioners. That failed. And then this opportunity came again once we hit that threshold of population. And I said, yeah, we need this. We need to move to 5 commissioners. We need to have, you know, more equity in the voices. We need to involve rural voices in North County discussions and have like a real seat at the table. And, you know, so like that in conjunction with me kind of coming to the end of a phase where I had basically checked every box. And it was, you know, I could come up with more things to do for the community, but, you know, everybody knows that you can't, you know, you spend too much time in an office, you get, you know, you shouldn't be there. You know, there's plenty of people in Washington, the other Washington, that have been sitting there too long, and they've gotten too comfortable. And so in the last phase of my mayorship, I've been working on succession planning. I've been working on, you know, a post-Wayne phase of Tenino, and I think, you know, I've got some good bookends to where it makes sense and it lines up with this new opportunity that South Thurston County has. And I started kind of thinking about who I would want to be my county commissioner if I was to continue as mayor. And there was no one that really stood out. Okay. And I knew who would be running potentially, and I knew that there were people that would step up that I wouldn't want to work with as mayor. Yeah. And I didn't think would add, you know, to the success of South Thurston County in the way that I feel I can. And there was a lot of people that were asking me to run. And so right off the bat in January, early January, I filed with the PDC, and I just had a groundswell of support. I've gotten endorsements from nearly every elected official, a lot of all of the major labor unions. The firefighters have come out in support of me, and it's been good. It's hard work. Yeah. Campaigning is very hard work. This is my 8th time I've run, or eighth election. This one currently, and none of them are easy. But countywide it's a tough ball game.
It is, and we appreciate you coming here and giving us your time. I really do.
Yeah, thank you.
I really do.
Yeah, thank you.
So you mentioned a lot of things that you did as a mayor, and some things that you wanted to do as a county commissioner. What would be those things that you would want to fix in Thurston County?
There's a lot of immediate issues that are, you know, like I like to stay at, you know, I like to say you need to be at the 60,000 foot level. You need to be up policy level, looking out 10, 15, 20 years in the future. But right now, like, we are on the verge of crisis. It is alarming, the budget crisis that we're facing. The general fund revenues are there's no growth, right? And that's a problem. And you said 10%. I was told 8% is what they're looking at cutting system wide, and that's scary. I think, you know, that's not how I want to approach budget cuts. Is just a blanket statement of everyone cut. You need to get in there. You need to make some stop gaps where, you know, things like hiring freezes, you know, like if there's a vacancy, we need to stop. We need to count that, you know, that revenue needs to get put back into the system. Yeah. We need to start looking at our big contracts with outside entities and start talking about renegotiating those, or looking for ways to cut in every single department. But where it gets hard and it gets complicated at the county is most of the departments most of those places are overseen by independently elected officials. So
a few of them.
Yeah, a lot. You know, so as mayor, I can, you know, I am the executive and I'm the budgeteer, and I oversee all aspects of everything.
Correct.
And when it comes to slashing, you know, making cuts to a budget, I can do that. When it comes to the county, you have to be a skilled diplomat to be able to go and speak to the coroner about his budget, or to speak to the county clerk about their budget, because they are not your subordinates.
Right.
You know, so it's tough. It's complicated.
It is. It is.
So the budget's immediate thing. Leadership. There's going to be major changes and somewhat of a vacuum in leadership. The county manager that is there currently has resigned, and his last day is
coming up
very soon, and he is a very strong leader, and with his absence, there's going to be things that change. You know, Robin has been named the interim county manager, and you know, she could retire anytime she wants to.
Yeah.
You know, and so you know, that horizon is coming when she retires. There's two people that are like the biggest leaders in county functions that could be gone within a year. Well, one will be,
Right.
the other maybe, and then changing from 3 to 5. You know, so the leadership dynamics, that's an immediate thing. That's something that needs to be worked on. That's a major issue. And then the comp plan, it's something that's opened every 10 years or so. Right now, that thing gets cracked open. So you crack that open, you got budget drama, you got leadership issues, and you know, I hope to provide a steady hand to county government through those tribulations.
Okay. You may have heard about citizen issues with staff not being responsive to their concerns, or even commissioners not being responsive to citizens' concerns. You can go to any county meeting on Tuesdays,
Mm-hmm.
and you can hear the complaints that are filed. Some of them are valid, some are not. But the bottom line is that citizens feel there's issues in permits, and there's issues in roads, and there's issues in other areas of the county. As a county commissioner, how would you address those citizen concerns?
Transparency is important, honesty is important, accountability is important, but diplomacy is also important. And so, you know, a good rule of thumb is to, you know, praise in public and criticize in private. But, you know, when you come to me as a citizen with a complaint, I need to make sure that you feel validated and you know that I'm taking your concern seriously. So there's got to be a certain level of trust built up. And you know, sometimes you may not always know that I've gone and addressed the issue, but I've got to give you my assurances that you will. So as an administrator now, as an executive, I am directly responsible for personnel. As a county commissioner, you're not necessarily. You do serve as an executive in some functions. You do serve primarily as a legislator, but that's where you have to use department heads and county managers and make sure that you're not violating, you know, working agreements and collective bargaining agreements and overstepping your bounds as a policymaker. But you know, when somebody does, I'm not. It would have. There are times when something is so egregious, you can, you know, not take off your shoe and throw it at somebody. But even in a, you know, there's been some times when I've gotten vocal about some things that I thought were just outlandish, that in dealing with staff. But you also have to make sure that you're preserving that relationship, because you got to work with them the next day. So you know, there's always a balancing act. But the first, you know, it starts with public trust, and you know, making sure that, you know, you can sometimes guide a citizen through some complaint process. And make sure that they get the support and the help that they need. But you know, you got to be careful. You know, so if you were to come to me, I would want to make sure that you were pointed in the right direction, and I was there to support you, and I would follow up on things even though you may not know that.
Okay. As you know, I introduced myself as being on the steering committee for the Lake Management District. So this video was primarily put together, and candidates were asked and invited to come and do this interview to put it out to the Lake Management District members across the Thurston County. We got 4 LMDs right now, which represent about 5,000 voting members in Thurston County. So this is who that's going to go to.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, there's concerns about the LMD budgets, about their money being used by the county for overhead costs. They don't feel that it's appropriate. How would you, as a county commissioner, look at supporting lake management districts?
Well, it starts right here, and it starts with building relationships. And you know, I'm really appreciating the conversation that we're having, and I know full well that if I was elected, that conversation wouldn't stop. You know, not only am I open to it, I don't think you're the type of person that lets go of something. You know, you seem like somebody that you know is a serious individual. So it comes down to relationships. I am not ever going to be an expert on lake management districts, shoreline master plans, you know, animal services, jails. So I need to be a facilitator of process and a protector of process. So, you know, you come to me and you tell me that I don't think best practices are being used in Thurston County when it comes to lake management districts and their finances and their budgets. I will say, show me, you know, and you show me, and the evidence is there. And we've had talks about this.
Yes.
And you have piqued my interest, right? You have a compelling argument as to why, you know, the funds that you're paying in should not be going into countywide overhead. I get it, right? You know, and I want to solve problems. That's what I enjoy doing. So, you know, building relationships, making sure that they're maintained, and then, you know, creating the opportunity for, you know, a representative like you come in and show me and make the compelling argument. Be wary of I would say be wary of any individual that tells you they know anything. You know, if they tell you, I know the county better than anyone, I know budgets better than anyone, I know how lake management districts work, that person is probably not the type of person you want representing you or to be dealing with. I'm well aware of my ignorance, especially when it comes to something like this. So I rely heavily and listen to experts.
Okay. Another issue that has come up, and you may know about this, is there on the November. Another issue that's come up in November, we have a ballot measure on the thing to increase our sales tax by 0.2%, and 75% of that is going to go to law enforcement.
Mm-hmm.
As you probably are aware, being a part of the county, we have a very understaffed sheriff's department. Like, we have one deputy for this district out here in rural Thurston County. I think we're ranked 38 out of 39 counties in the state for the number of deputies that we have per capita. And we think that initiative is a good thing. How would you support law enforcement if you were elected county commissioner?
Yeah, so right now I'm actively campaigning in favor of the public safety sales tax. I'm on the yes steering committee, so I'm part of the effort to pass this. So I'm in favor. And if it does pass, it would bring in between $17 and $18 million a year to the entire county. And of that, you know, you said, you know, 75% goes to law enforcement. There's the 17 million. About 8 million of that goes to the municipalities. So each city will get a portion of that. And then I want to say there's whatever's left, 75% of whatever is left goes to the sheriff's department, and so it's something like $7 million. And yes, we are, you know, our citizen to deputy ratio is one of the lowest in the county, and that's
in the state.
In the state. That's what I meant.
Yeah.
We are the county.
Right.
That's not a number we should be proud of. And so I'm fighting against it. I'm endorsed by Sheriff Sanders. I endorsed him. I believed in him from the start, and I think we have an amazing sheriff. And I'm working hand in hand with him to get the sales tax passed, because I do want to put more deputies on the road. And I want to, you know, I'm tired of every election everybody says they want to do that.
Yeah.
Now we have the opportunity to actually do it, and I believe it's going to pass, and I believe it's going to happen.
Okay. One other thing that came up, and I actually didn't see it myself, but you had a forum with the Chamber of Commerce recently.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that came up, and I believe your comment was that you intend to continue being a firefighter while you're a county commissioner.
Mm-hmm.
How are you going to do that?
I've been a firefighter for 20 plus years now, and the way my schedule works out, I work on average about 6 days a month. So that's, I mean, how many weekends are there in a month? There
Depends.
Yeah. So
Sometimes there's
I work
8
yeah
to 4
with
and
this
sometimes
because
there's
I've
5.
been doing what I do so long. I have a schedule that affords me to have enough time to do other things, and I've been able to be a full. Mayor's a full-time job too.
Yeah,
Like
pretty
it
much.
is. I spend every day off in City Hall working, and some of my work time as a firefighter, it's at night when people are sleeping. So, like I'm like Batman out there at night going around doing firefighter stuff, and during the day I'm an elected official. Being an elected official it's not just a full-time job, it's a lifestyle. It's a way of life. It doesn't stop. So sometimes you're in meetings from 8 to 5. Sometimes your day starts at noon and it goes till 9 o'clock at night because you're at some town hall or community event. This is not a new way of life to me. I've done this my entire life. When I was a volunteer firefighter, when I was 18, you never turn your pager off. You're always on call. You're always available to the community. And for the last 25, 30 years, I have always been available to my community. So this is just the next step.
Okay. Well, Wayne, we really appreciate you coming out here, giving us the opportunity to talk to you, giving our Lake Management District members an opportunity to get to know you better. I think 10 October the pamphlets come out from the county, and the 20th of October the voting starts, early voting with the ballots. So we're not that far away from it.
Yep.
And I wish you the best of luck in this endeavor.
Thank you.
And you have a great day, sir.
You too.
All right.